Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Ifeni, the Great Malabite.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning,
Rufai.
Good morning. Yeah.
You've been hitting the space all morning, but that's vintage Rufai. We start the review with this day Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, NLC, TUC, Adamant reject Tinubu's palliative, say no reason to call off protests. Declare president silent on wage award, fixing of refineries. Hundreds protest in Kano over fuel price hike. Others, no room for violent protest. IGP warns NLC. Others, tight security nationwide. Yes, the NLC and the TUC, after the meeting they had yesterday, insisted that the strike will go on, the protest will go on as planned. And indeed, reports from the field has shown that yes, labor, they are out there protesting, especially in Abuja and some other parts of the country. But there are many people who don't also want to be bothered with strike. They just want to go about their businesses. But the point labor is making is that the palliatives are not enough, or the planned palliatives, because these palliatives are still on paper and subject of debate and discussion on television and radio stations. And until Nigerians see this palliative by way of alert, by way of cheap grains in the market and all that, the palliatives being talked about remain planned, intentions of this government. And I hope the government will move very fast, because not many are waiting for the NLC, as we have seen in a number of states, from Taraba to Jigawa states and other states, even in Edo, where civil society protested sometime last week. People are not necessarily waiting for the NLC and TUC before they take their destiny in their hands. When you are hungry, the next logical thing to do is to either fight back or try and solve your hunger. But criminality will not be accepted, because criminals will be dealt with as criminals when they invade and raid places that they don't have access to. So, but let's look at other stories on the front page of this day. First, above the masthead at ministerial screening, Wale Edun says Naira fair value is 700 Naira to the dollar. Hints on measures to boost economic recovery, says Office of Accountant General of Federal Government should be created. Justifies plan to distribute $800 million cash to vulnerable Nigerians. Rufai, 1.6 trillion Naira subsidy on electricity, not sustainable. Want discourse taken away from banks' management. Well, the screening yesterday of presidential nominees, ministerial nominees, continued yesterday, and of course, expectedly, the second batch of lists should appear at the Senate today. But Wale Edun, what's his portfolio going to be? Minister of Finance, but he has been the special advisor in charge of monetary policies since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office. And when he says something, then we take it very seriously. If he's saying fair value, 700 Naira to the dollar is the fair value, are you saying that's where you'll be defending the Naira? You don't want it to float anymore? But
so that's the problem with the float.
The consequence,
these are the things we say
Rufai,
on air.
The consequence of that is that if you are pegging it at a place
700
and you are saying that is the fair value, and at the other end, the parallel market, the Naira is drifting to 860, then the window we are talking about closing, arbitrage will be wider. And of course,
so have we not gone back to square one?
No, we have not, Rufai. You are too hasty. We have not.
Okay.
We are still floating the Naira. Please, hold on.
Yes.
And let the minister take charge. Let's see what will happen. But This is just defending positions when he was asked questions at the ministerial screening yesterday. And of course, El-Rufai was also at the screening. So what is what portfolio should El-Rufai be given? He was Minister of Federal Capital Territory some time ago. Well, he did well. El-Rufai always perform in whatever public office he finds himself, whether accidental or not. But we know the problem with El-Rufai. His views on religion and politics, and how he has handled this over time in Kaduna State. But at the ministerial level, he will just face his job, I believe. But the other story on front page of this day, Tribunal reserved judgment in Atiku Obi's petitions against Tinubu. Atiku Obi, Dati Adichie, orders storm court at final address proceedings. Of course, you can see the photograph of Atiku Abubakar at the tribunal yesterday. Well, the lawyers, the defense, and of course the petitioners, they've all made their positions. All we are waiting for now is the verdict of the presidential election petition courts. The justices will give their views at the appropriate time. They will inform the nation. Whatever view they come up with, that is the law, that is justice. And of course, there's still room for those who are not satisfied to move to the Supreme Court. Whatever judgment eventually comes out at the Supreme Court will be the law. It will be justice. You don't need to preach to the justices, to beg them, to do, no. Whatever they come up with, finally will be the law. And that will be justice, unless you want to take your petition to divine authorities beyond the human comprehension. Now, the Guardian newspaper, of course, the lead story, NLC defies truth, proceeds on nationwide protest. Now, the story just below the masthead on the front page of the Guardian. Sit-at-home enforcers killed 250 people in 2 years, says Ohaneze. See why the people sit at home? Because you don't come out to please government and you get killed. So the first thing is that government must ensure that on the days, these folks, whether they are sitting in somewhere cozily in Finland, are saying, sit at home, you need to protect the people. If you don't provide enough security so that people don't get harmed or killed, then appealing to people to come out and defy sit at home, of course, they will use their discretion. It's better to stay alive. Now, the Punch newspaper, the lead story, Labour shunts FG begins protest as oil workers down tools. How federal government NLC meeting deadlock Labour. PDP berate Tinubu's proposed pay rise. IG orders AIG CPs to maintain order, prevent violence. Falana says protest lawful. Yes, the police, they have a duty to protect those who are protesting and ensure that the so-called hoodlums don't have their way. Because we know workers, when they protest, they do so peacefully, and they are not the hoodlums. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, of course, the same lead story, police on alert as Labour begins protest nationwide. The Nation newspaper, IG warns against violence as Labour insists on protest. Of course, you see the photograph in front page of the Nation newspaper, jet crashes on Ikeja Major Road. Yes, that was a test flight that was on yesterday, crashed into the street. Thankfully, the 2 passengers survived and no casualty on ground. But we hope the authorities will thoroughly investigate that and get to the roots of what caused that crash. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, of course, the photograph still on the front page of the Vanguard newspapers, 4 persons rescued as Lagos plane crashes in Lagos. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, anxiety as tribunal reserve judgment. Counsel to Tinubu, Atiku Obi adopt final addresses. Heaven won't fall if I am declared winner. PDP candidate tells court, we have proved our case, says labor lawyer. Now, we look at the New Telegraph newspaper, Niger. We are prepared for any presidential directive, military. Don't send troops to Niger. General Williams cautions Tinubu. Well, the other day I was telling somebody, Niger Republic is bordered by Chad. You have a military ruler there. They are also bordered by Burkina Faso, where we have a military ruler, and of course Mali, where we also have a military ruler. And those guys, the leader of Mali and Burkina Faso have said if troops are sent into Niger, then it will be a declaration of war. Where will they be? Will they be backing ECOWAS or joining the military junta in Niger to defend the military government, as it were? But caution have been asked for by experts who say, don't just go there. After all, it is still the internal affairs of Niger Republic. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. Daily Telegraph of London. First-time criminals to avoid court, yes. Thieves and drug users should be handed caution. Police told as judicial backlog rises, yes. The Ministry of Justice will today publish a draft code of practice that sets out how officers can deal with low-level and first-time offenses outside the court. Yeah, so a way to decongest the courts in the UK. Now, the Financial Times business breathes sigh of relief after post-Brexit goods safety mark dished. Yes, climb down over rival to EU scheme. Indefinite halt on 2025 start. Industry lobbying pay off. Yes, the plan for a post-Brexit rival to EU's CE product quality mark has been ditched after businesses and business leaders warned ministers that it was tying manufacturers in red tape. Now, the New York Times, Trump charged with destabilizing lies in 3 conspiracies to overturn his defeat. Now, beyond the presidential ambition of Donald Trump, who wants to run again for president, the New York Times, in the analysis, is saying, look, what is at stake is the essence of American democracy. Ruben Rufai and Ayo.
Let me just draw attention to two or three things. The first one is the match between England and China yesterday. Lauren James and her team, they just took a stroll in the park, beating China 6-1. But the part that concerns me is not the celebration of the Lionesses in England and the excitement that the Lionesses of England have become so energized. It's the fact that our Super Falcons are going to meet them on Monday.
Don't threaten us. Our Super Falcons are ready.
Okay.
Our Super Falcons are ready for the Lionesses.
In fact,
we are ready, Ruben.
I was going to suggest.
Our girls, go. They are ready, Ruben.
I was going to suggest.
Fear. We are ready.
That maybe one drum, we need some of us, including your good self, who is a sports aficionado, to go to Australia and stand behind our girls.
We'll do it from here.
To make sure that we beat England.
We'll back our girls. All ladies in Nigeria should wear green on that day.
Anyway. That's one, but it gives me some anxiety.
Yes,
you know the way those, they
are the European champions.
Yes, I know that the way they were all over the place, and China was looking like, they were not in the game. But in any case, it's great comfort to the West and also to England that yes, China, we are beating them. So that's a cause for excitement. The other story, which I thought maybe you left out, is a story about progress being made with cancer. Particularly breast cancer, artificial intelligence, which we're told after a study of about 60,000 women in Sweden, we've now been told that shows greater precision and testing. Yes, it will have a human workload, but I guess, better diagnosis is something that the world should be excited about.
Early treatment.
And then there's also another study which indicated that scientists have come up with a holy grail pill which can cure cancer and not destroy other cells within the body. They call it the AOH pill, But, you know, the reports say only grade pure. So we keep seeing these advancements in science, but it's of course a double-edged sword. There are other reports that artificial intelligence will pose a threat to humanity, particularly now in Qatar, Kuwait, and other places. Artificial intelligence broadcasters are taking our jobs, you know. But the positive side is the progress of humanity. As for the local stories, we've already spilled a lot of saliva on those local stories. Thank you very much, Emmanuel.